My beloved child, pause tonight, because I am speaking to the place you stopped mentioning. I am not only speaking to the words you still have courage to pray. I am speaking to the ache you buried beneath silence, the request you wrapped in tiredness, the hope you folded away because touching it hurt too deeply. Be still for a moment, beloved. Let your heart know this night is different. Though your eyes may not yet see evidence, though nothing around you may appear to have shifted, the atmosphere around you has changed. This is not an ordinary night. This is not casual. This is not accidental. This moment has been marked by my hand. I saw when that prayer first rose out of you. I saw when you prayed with tears on your face, and expectation trembling in your chest. I saw when your faith was tender, when your voice shook, when you believed that any day the door would open, the call would come, the healing would manifest, the relationship would be restored, the provision would appear, the answer would finally stand before you. I saw you return again and again, bringing that same request to me, not because you doubted me, but because you trusted me enough to keep asking. And I saw when hope began to feel heavy. I saw when expectation started to hurt. I saw when you stopped mentioning it, not because you no longer cared, but because caring had become too painful. My child, hear me tonight. The prayer did not disappear when your voice grew quiet. Heaven did not misplace it because your mouth stopped forming the words. I did not forget what you could no longer bear to repeat. What you buried in silence, I held by name. What you stopped saying out loud, I kept before me. What you thought had faded into the background of your life was still present in the courts of my remembrance. I remember the exact night you prayed it. I remember the exact tears that fell. I remember the exact ache attached to that request. The way your chest tightened, the way your breath changed, the way you tried to believe while fear whispered that nothing was moving. Beloved, I gathered every tear. I listened to every unfinished sentence. I understood every prayer that came out only as a sigh. You thought silence meant the matter was over, but your silence never canceled my attention. You thought your tiredness closed the file, but heaven never closed it. I kept it sealed, preserved, protected, and carried under my authority until the appointed moment. And tonight, I am bringing your heart close enough to hear this clearly. I remembered what you stopped mentioning. So pause and receive this. If you believe I still remember hidden prayers, let your agreement rise even now. Like this video as a sign of faith, subscribe for more messages of hope, and write in the comments, God remembered my prayer tonight. Let your words come back into the light, because what you buried in silence was never forgotten by me. My child, I saw the tiredness that came over you slowly. It did not arrive all at once. It came after one more unanswered message, one more closed door, one more night of trying to believe while your heart felt bruised by hope. I saw you grow tired of asking. I saw you grow tired of explaining to others why you were still believing. I saw you grow tired of smiling when the subject came up, tired of pretending the delay did not hurt, tired of holding back tears because you did not want anyone to know how much that prayer still mattered to you. And I did not condemn you for becoming quiet. Hear me clearly, beloved. Your silence did not make you faithless. Your silence revealed how deeply you had been wounded by waiting. You were not rebelling against me. You were exhausted. You were not turning your back on my promise. You were protecting a tender place that had been touched too many times by disappointment. I knew the difference. I knew when your mouth stopped praying, your heart had not stopped longing. I knew when your words disappeared, the ache remained alive inside you. I saw you when you asked boldly. I saw you when you whispered. I saw you when you could only breathe. I saw you when your prayer had structure, when you had language, when you had strength to lift your hands and declare what you believed. I saw you when that prayer became quieter, when the words came slower, when your faith was still present but your voice was breaking under the weight of repeated waiting. I saw you when you could no longer form the sentence without tears rising first. I saw you when all you could do was sit in my presence and breathe through the pain. Beloved, those breaths reached me. Those sighs were not empty. Those tears were not wasted. Those moments when you looked toward heaven and said nothing were not moments of absence. They were prayers too deep for language. They came before me with a fragrance words could not carry. Your silence stood before my throne. Your surrender spoke. Your trembling spoke. The tear you wiped away before anyone saw it spoke. The ache you carried into your room, into your car, into your pillow, into another ordinary day spoke clearly in my presence. Do you think I only hear you when your voice is strong? Do you think I only respond to polished prayers, complete sentences, and confident declarations? No, my child. I heard the loud prayer, and I heard the quiet ache that remained after the words stopped. I heard you when you believed with fire, and I heard you when belief felt like a single ember hidden beneath ash. I heard you when you said, "Lord, I trust you," and I heard you when all you could say was, "Lord, help me." I heard you when even that became too much, and your spirit simply leaned toward me without sound. I did not turn away when your voice weakened. I drew closer. I did not step back because you ran out of words. I bent low over the place where your strength had thinned. I did not require you to perform faith while you were bleeding. I did not ask you to keep explaining pain I already understood. I counted every quiet moment as trust, because even in your silence, you did not leave my presence completely. Even when you could not speak to me about it anymore, you still carried it where I could see it. So let shame fall off you tonight. Let the accusation break that says you failed because you stopped mentioning the prayer. You did not fail. You became tired. You became tender. You became weary from holding expectation in a place that kept feeling delayed. And I, your Jesus, did not misread your weariness as rejection. I read it as a wound, and I kept listening to the wound. The prayer did not die when your voice grew tired. It did not lose its place because your strength ran out. It did not vanish because disappointment made you quiet. I kept hearing what your lips could no longer carry. I kept receiving what your tears continued to say. I kept guarding the request beneath the silence, because I knew a night would come when I would remind you that I had been listening the whole time. My child, now let me take you deeper, because the pain of delay has told you a story I never authored. It told you I was refusing you. It told you I was withholding because you were not worthy. It told you the silence meant no, the waiting meant rejection, the closed door meant abandonment. But hear me tonight, with the part of you that still wants to trust me. My silence was not refusal. It was preservation. I was not ignoring the prayer. I was guarding the answer. What felt like denial was my hand covering something too precious to be released into an unsafe season. What looked like absence was hidden protection. What seemed like distance was divine watchfulness. Beloved, I did not leave the prayer unattended. I did not set it down and forget where I placed it. I held it close because I knew what surrounded you then. I knew the rooms that were not ready. I knew the people who would have mishandled what I was preparing to give you. I knew the habits that still needed to loosen their grip. I knew the fear that would have made you shrink from the very thing you begged me to release. I knew the circumstances that could not yet carry the weight of the blessing without breaking something tender inside you. It was not forgotten. It was preserved. It was not rejected. It was protected. It was not buried. It was sealed. And what I seal, no disappointment can destroy. What I preserve, no delay can decay. What I protect, no voice of accusation can cancel. You thought the answer was lying still because nothing was happening, but stillness in my hand is not death. Stillness in my hand is safekeeping. I was not letting the promise rot in the dark. I was placing it in holy covering until the appointed time could arrive. My beloved child, I am the author of your story, and I did not close the page because the story ended. I held the page because the next chapter was not ready to open. There were characters I had to move. There were doors I had to lock. There were paths I had to clear. There were motives I had to expose. There were attachments I had to loosen. There were places where your heart still confused urgency with readiness, and I loved you too much to let your impatience become the timing of your inheritance. Delay was not punishment for your imperfection. Let that accusation fall now. I was not making you wait because you cried too much, doubted too often, struggled too honestly, or could not keep your hands steady in the storm. I was not standing over you with disappointment, measuring every weakness before deciding whether to answer. No, my child, the delay was mercy. The delay was covering. The delay was my wisdom refusing to let you receive the right thing in the wrong season, because even a good gift can feel heavy when it arrives before the vessel has been strengthened to hold it. I saw what would have happened if I released it too early. I saw the pressure you could not yet carry. I saw the voices that would have tried to define it for you. I saw the old patterns that would have tried to attach themselves to the new blessing. I saw the places where insecurity would have made you apologize for what I gave you. I saw the environments that would have celebrated the appearance of the answer while quietly draining the life out of it. So I covered it. I kept it from hands that were not assigned to touch it. I kept it from mouths that were not pure enough to speak over it. I kept it from seasons that would have consumed it before it matured. So breathe tonight. Breathe deeper than you have breathed in a long time. The delay was not proof that heaven was empty. The delay was proof that I am careful with what belongs to you. I do not throw holy answers into unprepared places. I do not release sacred things into chaos and call it blessing. I do not answer just to end your waiting while leaving you unprotected in the receiving. I answer as Father. I answer as Shepherd. I answer as the one who sees the beginning, the middle, the hidden danger, the unseen timing, and the final glory all at once. What you called late, I called guarded. What you called silence, I called strategy. What you called abandonment, I called covering. What you called no, I called not yet, because I was preserving more than the answer. I was preserving you. I was preserving your peace. I was preserving your capacity. I was preserving the purity of what I promised, so that when it came, it would not arrive damaged, distorted, or tied to what I never intended. And tonight I declare over your heart that panic is losing its authority. The old fear that says I forgot you is breaking. The old grief that says the prayer was wasted is lifting. My silence was never empty. It was full of protection, full of wisdom, full of mercy, full of hidden movement. I was guarding the answer with a love you could not see yet. I was holding the page until the right chapter could open. And now, beloved, you are beginning to understand. The delay around that old prayer was design, not denial. Beloved, now understand what your eyes could not measure. Preservation was not inactivity. Covering was not stillness. While I was guarding the answer, I was also moving everything around it. While you were waiting, I was working. While you were crying, I was clearing. While you were confused, I was connecting. While you were asking why nothing had changed, I was reaching into places you could not see, touching decisions you did not know were being made, shifting hearts you could not access, and preparing roads that did not yet look like roads. You saw one closed door, but I saw the entire hallway. You saw one delayed conversation, but I saw the timing of every word that needed to be spoken. You saw one interrupted plan, one unexpected separation, one opportunity that almost opened and then suddenly slipped away. But I saw the hidden map. I saw what was attached to it. I saw where it would have taken you. I saw the counterfeit blessing dressed in familiar clothing. I saw the shortcut that would have cost you peace. So I stepped in. I delayed what needed delay. I interrupted what needed interruption. I separated what needed separation. I redirected what needed redirection. Not to punish you, my child, but to protect the path of the answer. There were people who had to move into position before your prayer could stand in front of you. There were rooms that had to be prepared. There were resources that had to be released from hands that were holding them too tightly. There were conversations that had to happen without your presence. There were decisions being formed in hearts, in offices, in homes, in quiet places, in places where your name was not spoken by you, but was carried by me. You thought you were absent from the process because no one updated you, but heaven was not waiting for human permission to remember you. I was aligning every hidden thread. I was weaving the detail you called random into the tapestry you will one day call faithful. I placed keys where they needed to be. I sealed instructions over moments that had not yet arrived. I wrote your name on scrolls of assignment, not with uncertainty, but with authority. There were doors I told to remain shut until the correct hand reached them. There were doors I told to open only after your heart had healed enough to walk through without fear. There were doors I locked because behind them was noise, confusion, and a version of the answer that looked close but carried no peace. And yes, beloved, my angels were not idle. I assigned them to guard the timing. I assigned them to escort provision. I assigned them to stand at intersections where your life could have been pulled into the wrong agreement. They blocked counterfeit opportunities that would have looked like progress but produced bondage. They surrounded conversations that carried your future. They carried instructions from my presence, sealed with your name, not to consider whether you were worthy, but to execute what I had already commanded. They were not late. They were not confused. They were not searching for your address. They knew exactly where to stand, what to guard, what to stop, what to release, and what to escort into your path. So do not judge the story by the season when you could not see the workers. Do not accuse me, because the machinery of heaven was hidden behind the veil. What looked like nothing was full of movement. What felt like still air was full of divine instruction. What seemed delayed was being routed through people, places, resources, and circumstances that had to come into alignment before the answer could arrive whole. My child, I was not only preparing the blessing, I was preparing its path. I was clearing the ground before your feet touched it. I was removing contamination before the gift reached your hands. I was making sure that when the old prayer began to rise again, it would not rise alone, uncovered, unstable, or exposed. It would rise with timing. It would rise with protection. It would rise with provision. It would rise with my fingerprints on every thread. And tonight, I want your heart to rest in this. I was arranging the answer long before you could see movement. I was closer than the silence made you feel. I was more active than the delay allowed you to understand. Every hidden thread has heard my command, and what I have been aligning in secret is beginning to move toward the light. My child, now hear me with a steady heart. What I have been aligning in secret is no longer remaining only in secret. Tonight is not merely another night added to the long count of waiting. Tonight is a threshold. Tonight is a door in the spirit. Tonight is the place where what was preserved begins to move, where what was hidden begins to rise, where what was held under my covering begins to receive permission to step toward visibility. This night is different. This moment is marked. The silence is breaking. I am not speaking vague comfort over you. I am not giving you soft words just to soothe a tired place for one more evening. I am announcing movement. I am declaring that the old request, the one you thought had become too buried to breathe again, has entered its appointed time. Heaven has not merely remembered it. Heaven has authorized movement concerning it. The prayer that seemed abandoned has been called forward. The request that sat quietly beneath years of disappointment has heard my voice. The answer has received instruction. The hidden thing is beginning to turn toward the light. Beloved, you may not see the full proof all at once. Do not let that trouble you. Often I let peace arrive before the evidence, because peace prepares the ground where evidence will stand. You may feel a quiet settling in your spirit before the phone call comes, before the door opens, before the conversation happens, before the provision appears, before the visible sign reaches your hands. You may notice a strange calm where anxiety used to live. You may wake with less heaviness and not understand why. You may find that the thought of that old prayer no longer pierces you the way it did. That is not random. That is not emotional accident. That is the first wave of my movement touching the shore of your heart. I am breathing on what felt buried. I am speaking over what you stopped checking. I am calling life back into expectation, not by forcing you to strive, not by demanding that you manufacture excitement, not by asking you to pretend you were never hurt. No, my child, I am restoring hope gently, but with authority. You will begin expecting again because I am breathing expectation into you. You will begin looking again because I am lifting your eyes. You will begin sensing movement because movement has begun. The old grief that wrapped itself around that request is loosening. The heaviness that told you not to hope too much is breaking. The guarded place in you that said, I cannot go through another disappointment, is being touched by my hand. I am not mocking your pain by asking you to believe again. I am healing your pain so belief can rise without torment. This is not the frantic hope that begs for signs every hour. This is not anxious expectation that watches every shadow and calls it evidence. This is holy confidence, quiet but firm, gentle but unshakable, small at first, perhaps, but alive, because I am the one breathing on it. Tonight, I am turning the page, not as a man who guesses what may happen, but as the author who knows what has already been written. I have watched the chapter of silence. I have held you through the chapter of delay. I have guarded you through the chapter of hidden preparation. And now I say, the next movement has begun. The request is not trapped in yesterday. The prayer is not chained to disappointment. The answer is not wandering without direction. It has been summoned into timing. So do not be surprised when small signs begin to appear. Do not dismiss the peace. Do not ignore the shift. Do not call the calm coincidence. When your heart feels lighter, receive it. When your spirit senses a turning, honor it. When hope rises without your permission, let it rise. I am not asking you to force anything open. I am asking you to recognize that I have opened a movement in the unseen, and what begins in the unseen will find its way into your reality by my authority. My child, tonight marks the beginning of visible movement around the prayer that seemed abandoned. I remembered it, I preserved it, I aligned it, and now I have commanded it to move. But my child, as movement begins, I want your expectation to become tender and flexible in my hands. Do not chain the answer to the old picture you formed when the wound was fresh and your understanding was smaller. Do not decide that I have not answered simply because the answer does not arrive through the person you expected, the method you imagined, the schedule you circled, or the package your mind once built around the promise. I am answering the prayer, beloved, but I am answering it with the wisdom of the one who saw what your first request could not see. There were details you attached to the prayer because you were hurting. There were names you placed inside the request because they were familiar. There were doors you begged me to open because they were the only doors you knew. There were timelines you thought would prove my faithfulness because delay frightened you then. But I was listening beneath the words. I was hearing the deeper cry under the surface. I heard the desire for restoration beneath the desire for a certain conversation. I heard the longing for peace beneath the request for a certain outcome. I heard the ache for belonging, provision, healing, vindication, companionship, clarity, and home beneath the form you gave me. And because I love you, I will not limit my answer to the size of the picture you could imagine while you were in pain. What I am bringing is not smaller than you asked, not cheaper than you hoped, not random, not late, but refined, purified, and fitted to who you have become. It may come quietly, but it will not be weak. It may arrive humbly, but it will not be lacking. It may enter through a side door instead of the grand entrance you expected, but my fingerprints will be on it. Do not despise the small opening because you were waiting for a dramatic gate. Do not reject the unfamiliar because it does not carry the face, the sound, or the shape your memory assigned to the answer. Some of my holiest deliveries come wrapped in simplicity. Some of my clearest yeses arrive without noise. Some of my most precise provisions begin as a small conversation, a subtle prompting, an unexpected invitation, a quiet release, a gentle peace where confusion used to sit. Beloved, the surprise I send will not be chaos. It will not drag you back into torment and call itself blessing. It will not demand that you abandon peace in order to receive it. It will carry the fragrance of my hand. It will come with clarity, even if it comes with mystery. It will come with confirmation, even if it comes gradually. It will come with a steady witness in your spirit that says, "This is different. This is clean. This has God on it." I do not confuse my children when I am leading them into promise. I may stretch your understanding, but I will not abandon your discernment. I may surprise your plans, but I will not violate the peace I have been building inside you. So stay sensitive tonight and in the coming days. Keep your spirit awake, not anxious, but attentive. Watch for the small openings. Listen for the gentle instructions. Notice the doors that begin to unlock without force. Notice the people who appear with peace, not pressure. Notice the opportunities that do not flatter your fear but strengthen your faith. Notice the sudden release in a place that used to feel blocked. I am not asking you to chase every sign. I am asking you to walk closely enough with me that you can recognize my hand when it moves. The answer may not match the old picture, my child, but it will match the deeper promise. It will answer what your soul was really asking for. It will reach the root, not merely decorate the surface. It will carry more than relief. It will carry alignment. It will carry healing. It will carry a future your former self could not fully imagine. Open your heart to the way I choose to deliver it. Let me be God over the method, God over the timing, God over the vessel, God over the surprise. What I have commanded to move is coming under my authority, and when it arrives, you will know that I did not forget the prayer. I purified the answer. My child, now hear me carefully. I did not only prepare the answer, I prepared you. I did not only work on the door, the timing, the people, the provision, the path, and the hidden details. I worked on the one who would walk through the door. I worked on your heart. I worked on your discernment. I worked on your capacity. I worked on the places in you that once would have received the blessing and then been crushed by the weight of it. You are not the same child who first prayed that prayer. You are deeper now, softer now, wiser now, stronger now. You do not chase the same way. You do not cling the same way. You do not confuse noise with confirmation the same way. You do not call every open door my will anymore. You have learned to listen for peace. You have learned to wait for my hand. You have learned that urgency is not always obedience, and delay is not always rejection. Beloved, this was not small. This was formation. When you first asked, you wanted relief, and I understood. You wanted the pain to stop. You wanted the answer to come quickly. You wanted the ache to be healed, the door to open, the relationship to mend, the provision to arrive, the promise to become visible. But while you were asking me to change the circumstance, I was changing the carrier of the promise. I was making you steady enough to receive without losing yourself. I was making you humble enough to carry without pride. I was making you discerning enough to recognize what is mine and reject what only looks like mine. I was making you dependent enough to remember that the gift is never greater than the giver. Do not despise the hidden years. Do not curse the quiet place. Do not call the private season wasted because people did not see what I was doing in you. You were not being overlooked. You were being formed. You were not being dismissed. You were being certified. You were not being buried to disappear. You were being planted to become rooted. I do some of my strongest work where no applause can reach, where no platform can flatter, where no outside voice can interrupt the holy shaping of a soul that will one day steward what others only prayed to touch. I saw your integrity when no one celebrated it. I saw you choose restraint when your emotions begged for reaction. I saw you forgive when your heart still hurt. I saw you keep returning to me after disappointment tried to make you distant. I saw you obey in small ways that looked invisible to others but were loud in my presence. Those choices mattered. Those tears mattered. Those quiet yeses mattered. They became strength inside you. They became roots beneath you. They became room within you. And now the answer is not coming to the version of you that begged from fear. It is coming to the version of you I have strengthened through trust. I did not wait only until the thing was ready. I waited until you were ready to receive it, without surrendering your peace, without compromising your purity, without worshiping the outcome, without letting the blessing replace your dependence on me. That is why I took my time. That is why I moved slowly where you wanted speed. That is why I kept shaping you while I kept preserving what you asked for. This answer is not just for relief, my child. It is for testimony. It is for obedience. It is for restored faith. It is for legacy. It is for the people who will one day hear your story and breathe again because they realize I remembered them too. What wounded you will not have the final word over you. What made you weep will become part of what strengthens others. The place that almost convinced you to stop hoping will become a witness that hope in me is never wasted. So stand taller in your spirit tonight, not with pride, but with holy readiness. You are not empty-handed because I forgot you. You are open-handed because I trained you to receive. You are not fragile the way you once were. You are tender, but not weak. You are humble, but not small. You are quiet, but not powerless. The waiting did not just prepare the answer, it prepared you to carry it. And what I place in your hands will not destroy your peace. It will reveal what I built in you while you were waiting. So now, my child, open your hands. Stop gripping the shape of the answer so tightly that your fear becomes louder than your faith. Stop rehearsing the disappointment as if pain deserves the final script. Stop waking up the old sorrow just to ask it whether you are allowed to hope again. I am not asking you to manage the miracle. I am asking you to receive it. Breathe. Release the old fear. Open your hands. Let me be God over the timing, the method, and the outcome. This season is not about forcing doors. It is not about chasing people who walked away. It is not about proving your worthiness to rooms I have not assigned you to enter. It is not about begging for signs every hour or trying to control every detail so your heart feels safe. Beloved, safety is not found in control. Safety is found in closeness to me. Stay close. Obey the next step. Speak what I tell you to speak. Wait when I tell you to wait. Move when I breathe movement into your spirit. There will be no striving in this holy release, only surrendered cooperation. I know you are afraid to hope again. I know there is a place in you that whispers, "What if I believe?" and it hurts again. I am not asking you to trust the pain. I am asking you to trust my character. Pain made promises it had no authority to keep. Disappointment tried to teach you that silence means absence. But I have already told you my silence was preservation, so do not let yesterday's wound become the prophet of tomorrow. Let my voice speak louder than what hurt you. Let my faithfulness rise higher than the memory of delay. Tonight, come into alignment with what I am doing. Sleep in peace. Forgive where forgiveness is needed, not because what happened was small, but because your hands must be free to receive what I am placing in them. Stop speaking death over the promise. Stop calling it impossible. Stop saying it is too late when I have declared that the appointed time has begun. Keep your spirit attentive to holy nudges, to gentle instructions, to quiet peace, to doors that open without manipulation and warnings that protect without explanation. And if you know someone who stopped praying because they became tired of waiting, share this with them. Let this word reach the one whose hope has been buried under silence. Let them hear that I still remember. Let them breathe again. My child, you do not need to manage the miracle. You need to trust me enough to receive it. Open your hands. I am still God over the answer. Now I declare over you, my child, with the authority of my love and the certainty of my hand, the forgotten prayer is rising before you. What you buried in silence is being called by name. What you stopped mentioning because it hurt too deeply is being lifted out of the hidden place. What disappointment tried to seal, I am opening. What shame tried to cover, I am cleansing. What fear tried to bury, I am breathing upon again. I call back hope. I silence shame. I break agreement with disappointment. I place peace over your night. I speak to the weary place in you that learned to expect less, and I command it to breathe again. I speak to the guarded place in you that flinched whenever faith returned, and I cover it with my gentleness. I speak to the part of you that thought silence meant the story was over, and I declare the story was never outside my hand. The prayer did not vanish. The promise did not decay. The answer did not lose its way. I remembered. Tonight, faith is being restored to you, not as pressure, but as peace. Patience is being healed in you, not as endless waiting, but as holy trust. Courage is rising again, not loud and reckless, but steady and clean. Expectation is returning to your heart, not as anxiety, not as striving, not as desperate watching, but as quiet agreement with my timing. And the ability to believe again, the ability you thought had been damaged beyond repair, is being touched by my hand right now. You will not have to beg your heart to hope. I will make hope rise gently. You will not have to force your spirit to believe. I will place belief inside you, like a lamp relit in a room that had grown dark. You will not have to manufacture peace around this old request. I will put peace there. I will settle the storm around the memory. I will remove the sting from the waiting. I will teach your heart that remembering does not have to reopen the wound when my hand is the one holding the memory. And I declare over the answer connected to this prayer, what I preserved will arrive in peace. It will not come wrapped in confusion. It will not come carrying bondage. It will not demand that you abandon your discernment. Counterfeit answers will fall away. False doors will lose their pull. Familiar traps will no longer sound like opportunity. What is not mine will become heavy to your spirit, and what is mine will carry a witness of peace that no fear can counterfeit. The true answer will carry confirmation. It will carry clarity. It will carry the fragrance of my presence. It may surprise you, but it will not torment you. It may stretch you, but it will not destroy your peace. It may require trust, but it will not require you to become someone I did not create you to be. My fingerprints will be upon it. My timing will surround it. My angels will guard its arrival. My wisdom will separate the holy from the hollow, the assigned from the attractive, the lasting from the loud. So rest tonight, beloved. Let the old prayer rise without panic. Let hope return without apology. Let your hands remain open. Let your heart stop arguing with the possibility of my goodness. I am not reopening this matter to wound you. I am raising it to restore you. I am not calling you back into striving. I am calling you into agreement. What was hidden is moving. What was preserved is breathing. What was remembered in heaven is beginning to show signs on earth. This was never lost to me. This was never beyond my reach. This was never too buried for my voice, too delayed for my timing, too broken for my restoration, or too quiet for my attention. My child, I remembered. After the Amen, my child, do not walk away from this word as if it were only something you heard. Stand in agreement with what I remembered. Let your mouth come into alignment with heaven. Let your heart stop hiding from hope. If this message touched the prayer you stopped mentioning, write in the comments, "Tonight, God remembered me." Not as performance, not as noise, not to prove anything to people. Write it as agreement. Write it as a marker. Write it as a quiet declaration that silence did not cancel what I held in my hand. And if there is a prayer still resting in the hidden place, leave it there too. Let this community stand with you in faith for remembered prayers, restored hope, appointed answers, and peace while the answer moves. You are not standing alone. I know your name. I know your request. I know the tears attached to it. If you want to keep receiving words that strengthen your faith in waiting seasons, subscribe and remain close to what lifts your spirit toward me. Like this message, not casually, but as agreement that hope is rising again. Share it with someone who needs to believe that my silence did not cancel my promise. Now rest, beloved. May my peace cover your night. May hope rise again in your chest. May fear lose its voice. And may the prayer I remembered meet you in my perfect timing. Amen.